What up, what up, what up? You have reached the BDF 44's channel, and today I'd like to talk about Lonzo Ball and his trade prospects. Now, I know most people have heard that his father has recently came out and once again said some things that were could be interpreted as Lonzo being unhappy with his situation. Although I think most of us by now know not to take things that LeVar says and apply the kids' opinions to those words, because quite frankly, the kids appear to feel differently about a lot of things, especially as it pertains to their very own careers, than their father. But I do agree with a lot of what he says, especially about how he assesses his kids, minus the exaggeration. The things that he says that his kids need, the things that he says that they're going to play best with, I definitely believe in, and think the NBA should take a good hard look at taking his opinion seriously as it pertains to how to coach his kids. So with that being said, now we're looking at teams who are interested in maybe acquiring Lonzo Ball. I don't think there's a trade request of any kind. There's nothing other than rumors at this point. I'm pretty sure calls are fielded for the Ball brothers all day long. I'm sure there are a bunch of teams who, especially since Lonzo's playing well, who would love to acquire him. But I don't think too many teams need him more than the Clippers do, and they are the team that I've heard are interested in making a deal right now. Now, I haven't heard any framework possibilities. I don't know what they would trade to get him. I would imagine it would be some picks. I would imagine Lou Williams, maybe Terrence Mann, maybe something like that. You just don't really know what the Pelicans would want in that deal. Maybe you add a third team. Who knows? There's a million different possibilities. But I think what I really came here to kind of speak about is just, the idea of what it would look like with him at the Clippers. Now, I have gone on record probably more than once saying that I think the Clippers should get a point guard, and I think Lonzo Ball would be an excellent point guard. I think I actually said that the Clippers should go after Lonzo somewhere in this fleet of a million videos that I've made over the last 2 years. Somewhere in there, I'm sure I said the Clippers should go after Lonzo Ball because he fits what they need in every way possible, in my opinion. But Robert Horry said something today that made me question the fit a little. Even though the pundit next to him didn't agree, he said something that made me think. He said that Kawhi Leonard and Paul George basically get their offense by dribbling the ball and creating for themselves, so they don't need an orchestrator per se. He doesn't believe that Lonzo Ball's game would be best utilized in the Clippers' system, where a lot of what they do is ISO. I think this is one of those situations where he's not necessarily wrong, but I do believe that their team would be much better with the threat of an orchestrator on the floor. And like the other person who was on the panel with Robert, he brought up the point that I'm going to make here, is that it's not really for Kawhi and Paul George. They don't need a whole lot of anything to get them going. It's more so about the other players on the team having somebody, particularly a guy like Zubac, who's going to have somebody getting him the ball, making sure he's consistently getting his shots up. Marcus Morris will benefit a great deal from that, and so on and so forth. Those are the players that you're looking at on the Clippers that are really to benefit. Serge Ibaka, what's his name? Luke Kennard. Those are the guys that are going to immediately get better and play better with Lonzo on the floor. And that's what they're missing, is someone who's going to bring everything together for their franchise. So if they can get their hands on Lonzo Ball, it would devastate the Laker fan in me. But with the GM inside of me would say that's the move they should have made a long time ago. And I think that people were stupid in regards to assessing Lonzo Ball, because Lonzo Ball didn't have no trade value at all over the last year or so. And nobody believed in him. Now he starts playing well, all of a sudden people want to trade for him. I never understand that. If you know a player is yet to develop, and you know that you need what he brings to the table, why not just go get him and then take the chance of him playing well for you, rather than wait until his value goes sky high and then you have to give up the farm for him just to bring him in. Chances are your expectations for who he is based on the price tag is now going to be different since that price tag is so high. I just never understand that. Y'all know who Lonzo was. Y'all should have tried to get him when he was out here not playing well. That's what the Clippers should have did. Get him for the cheap, dirt cheap. And then when he improves, which he was inevitably going to do, you'd have him on the roster already. But, that's coming from a person who believes in Lonzo, who never once wavered in his belief in Lonzo, and would have bought low on Lonzo every day of the week. Everybody else who was saying they don't want him, I was the guy saying, just put him on my team. I'll find somebody to sit in front of him until he plays well. I was that mindset because I know what he can do. I know what his DNA is. I see what his brother and he are. Both of them are fantastic orchestrators. And ultimately, Lonzo's finally starting to round into form. He's getting his legs under him. He's getting his strength under him. And ultimately, his game is starting to get more confident. So it may be – it's not too late to trade for him. His value is still going to go up. But you might want to make that trade sooner than later because as he continues to play, if he stays healthy, value is going to just keep going up. And it's going to take a lot more than whatever it takes today to acquire him. So I think it would be very wise for the Clippers to not let any time pass in terms of this trade deadline without acquiring this kid. And anybody else that wants him needs to go get him while his value is as is, because it's only going to go up. I can't stress that enough for everybody who's watching me. Lonzo's value is going up. You think 17 assists was something, you wait to see what he's going to be in a couple years. He could average that amount. And I'm not kidding. I know an orchestrator when I see one. He's the real deal, and so is his little brother. So, yeah, that's what I got to say, man. Obviously, they're playing for Stan Van Gundy. I went on the Stan Van Gundy rant. You'll go back and see my Pelicans rant maybe about a week ago, maybe a little less than a week ago. My thing is, I just don't think Stan Van Gundy is the coach for this team. I don't think he's a bad coach. I loved him with Orlando. I think he did a fantastic job there, and I think if you gave him the same pieces that he had in Orlando, or similar pieces, obviously, I think you would get a similar result. Because that is a really, really, really good system for what it is that he does. You put a big-time paint presence on his team, and you give him a bunch of shooters that paint presence can pass out to from double teams. He excels with situations like that. Unfortunately, the Pelicans don't have that. They have a lot of pieces that don't necessarily fit, and that's on David Griffin to kind of make it so that that team does fit, and it's going to take some time. But they do have some things working out for them. The draft picks that they have picked are starting to round into form. Obviously, Zion doesn't count because he's a superstar already. But a guy like what's his name? Their center that they drafted with Zion, was it Hayes? Jackson Hayes. He's starting to come along. This is the first season where you're really starting to see what he can do. His value is going to go up. I like the Kira Lewis pick. He's a nice young point guard, fast dude. I think he's going to be something. He's starting to get a little minutes here and there. He'll take on a bigger role. They can probably let go of Eric Bledsoe. They could probably let go of Steven Adams. They have players on that team that are buyout candidates that could really help a contender, which they are not. So I would look at them and say they should probably shave off some of those players. Yeah, so they're just a team that has a lot of picks, no cohesion. And when they get that cohesion, probably going to have to do a little more subtraction, addition by subtraction, maybe get rid of some pieces, bring in some guys that just fit what they're doing, keep Zion happy, keep Ingram happy. If they can do those two things, I think they'll be a solid. But I just don't know if Stan Van Gundy is ever going to get out of them what they need their coach to get out of them. So that's what I think. I think Lonzo would be happy playing with Zion for 15 years, but it has to be in a good system. It can't be as currently constructed. They're just not going to get the most out of one another, especially since Stan is trying to play Brandon Ingram at the point, Zion at the point. It's like that's what LeVar was talking about. I mean, don't get me wrong. Both of those guys are more than capable of passing the rock. Both of them you really are intrigued seeing play the point guard, especially since neither one of them could really be stopped with the ball in their hands, especially if they're thinking multiple options, passing, shooting, driving, etc. So if you got players that big with those type of metrics who can handle the ball and create for others, it does behoove you to try to give them those opportunities and see what they can do. So I'm not mad at Stan for that, but when you do have Lonzo Ball, that's kind of his only job. So it does make it a little difficult to try to see that cohesion manifest. but you just got to put those players in the right lineups so that you can get them to exploit those different things. And then when you have them in those lineups, you make sure that guys that are not supposed to be a part of those moves that you're doing are not on the floor. And you bring in the guys who are supposed, bring them in to do what it is that they do. But I don't think they have that together yet. And to a point, it's a lockout year. Well, not a lockout year, but a COVID year, so not a lot of practice. He came in during this COVID era, so he hasn't really had a non-COVID era to kind of implement what it is that he does, get to know these players properly, practice, training camp, all that stuff is not available to him. So give Stan a little bit of a break in terms of having all of this together that I'm mentioning. It's just going to take some time, and I don't know if he's going to be given the rope to make that happen. But yeah, it's important to say all of these coaches, everybody over the last 16 months, anybody that's had a job with the NBA over the last 16 months has had very, very little practice time in comparison to what they're used to. No training camp, no summer league. So that really, really does make a difference in what you're seeing out there. And so, yeah, I just want to put that out there as well. So, yeah, man, Clippers, obviously there are other places Lonzo can go. Anywhere that needs a point guard, obviously he's definitely going to be a good fit with. And I don't agree with the only thing that he can do. And Robert Horry said basically the only thing that he does is a floor general, and more or less that's what he needs to do in order to be effective on the basketball floor. That's not necessarily where he's headed. He's a much better scorer than he was with the Lakers. He's a fantastic rebounder. He plays defense. We know he can defend. So he's going to still be able to do what he does without the ball in his hands all of the time. He will be better if you put it in his hands more than not, but it's not like he's just a completely useless player without the ball. That's just not who he is right now. So I want to definitely put that out there and make sure people know that I feel Lonzo can do a lot of things, not just what he's great at. So yeah, anyway, my name is BDF44. Thank you guys for watching. I'm pretty sure that's what I need to say. Anything else? Nah, that's about it. Thanks, guys. Peace.